So thank you for showing up today. My name is Ray Lacey. I'm the Partner Enablement Manager for VuWall. I have Nick Mathis with us here as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Nick Mathis, Director of Business Development for VuWall. So we want to talk about video walls and how we're doing video wall processing over IP now. We'll drag everyone through a couple slides and we're going to do a quick live demonstration. VuWall is a company based in Montreal, founded 15 years ago that, like everyone else, started doing video walls the only way we could, with a big box, a large server with input cards, output cards, so that we could gather all the video that people needed to see into the same sandbox to rearrange stuff, overlay, and then ship it out to wherever the displays were. This was the best way to do it, and it worked well, but there were certain limitations that we're able to address using IP video now. As a company, VuWall's all over the place now. Like I said, we were founded in Montreal. We have offices around the world. We are under the same ownership as G&D, a KVM manufacturer, and Tritech, a graphics card producer. So our presence is all over for these young companies. It's great that we have such a footprint. And in our time, but just in general, technology has changed. Control rooms used to look like mission control on the left. They were big rooms with a lot of analog displays. There was light boards in process control where it was a big wall with lines painted on it and LEDs, or not LEDs, light bulbs flashing where temperatures were overheating at a valve or whatever it might be. Now we have these rooms where there's screens that can show anything people want to see at any time. As a company, we've done projects all over the place. Our gear is TAA compliant. It's manufactured between Germany and the US. It's a SOC 2 company, and our experience working with all of the companies up there and many more has given us a good understanding of how control rooms work and what's needed to deliver the right visual content to mission critical operations.
And one of the really big things, especially that we like to show this for, is just to show that it's an incredibly scalable solution. So one of the big advantages of it being appliance based is you don't have to build something for the next 7 years. You don't have to try to anticipate your team's exact needs for beyond today. You can look at your requirements as they are. You can build the system that you need today. And then if you need to expand in the future, in most cases, it's adding an appliance. It's not reconfiguring an entire gigantic chassis.
Yeah. I alluded to this, but we've moved to an AV over IP solution where, rather than that big box, we have small decoder nodes that can be either behind the displays or racked. And they each have a couple outputs, decode just dozens of video streams, and feed their portion of a video wall and stitch together for larger walls. So this distributed method is cool for a lot of reasons. It's easy to deploy. You're not messing with a Windows operating system, all these cards. It takes up less rack space because these devices can be local to what they're feeding. It's easy to scale. Like Ray was just saying, we have a lot of clients where we'll start kind of in the four walls of a control room, like the room with the big wall. But if they've got a network drop to a display in a conference room, that can be a crisis room or a training location all of a sudden. All they need to do is put a decoder behind that display as well, and they can replicate a full video wall in that location or send new content there. We think it's pretty easy to use, which we'll show in the live demonstration. Our software that controls the routing is a really intuitive toolkit, and then compared to that big box, there's a lot less that can go wrong. It's not a single point of failure. There's no Windows updates that can bring down a control room operation. If one edge device fails, the rest of them keep running. So it's a really resilient solution as well. So like I was just saying, this is based in a control room. There's that one spot where they need to look at a lot of stuff, but that's not an entire control environment, so to speak. There's a lot of other places where all of that visual data that brings a lot of value into that control room can also bring data. Whether it's the supervisor's office, so they can have eyes on what's going on without needing to walk down the hall. Whether it's we have a project with Homeland Security where they have a TV in the corner of their break room, and while people are getting coffee, they can still keep an eye on what's going on.
One of the big things there is that it just takes a network drop in power.
Yeah.
So again, you can build it for the primary operations center today, But the whole conversation is if you have a director, if you have a fire chief, if you just have somebody else that's 3 floors over, or maybe 2 buildings over, maybe they're in a different city, as long as you control the network connectivity between sites, you can absolutely share video wall content and even have different video walls at different geographic locations, even different countries.
Yeah.
Again, if you have control between the 2 spaces. So one of our biggest challenges is just getting people out of the mindset of everything has to home run back to this big central box. No, it's network infrastructure. That's the whole point of going with that, is that you can scale and move it around. And even if you need to redeploy, if you have an ops center today and you're building a new one in 2 years, you don't have to reconfigure anything. You just lay those appliances out in a different way, maybe add a few more for that new environment.
Yeah.
But just incredibly easy to work with.
Yeah, I mean, one cool project I was involved with is the San Francisco 49ers in Levi's Stadium. And there's 3 different control rooms in the stadium, all administered by the one team. So there's a group of super admins that can see everything, but in each of those 3 control rooms, they only have user permissioning to see the sources, the video sources and the displays that are relevant to what they're doing. So it makes it a lot easier to administer, to troubleshoot, to run a game day. But it keeps it simple for the groups in all of those spaces. So if we were to boil it down, this is what a signal flow, an architecture drawing typically looks like, right? You have video sources that are either already in IP, maybe it's cameras for a traffic operations center or for a security center, virtualized computers, if there's a lot of servers that people are using, web pages, things like that, or it's things we lift up into IP with encoding. All of those are made available over a network to all of your displays where we have these decoders that I've been talking about. And the decoders do their processing locally, right? So we talked about easy to scale. As you add more decoders, the processing power goes up as well. So you're not limited to a certain number of video formats that the system can think about, so to speak. And then the management server lives on that network and it sort of directs traffic. It tells the decoders what they should be tuning into and where to put it. But it's not a bottleneck for the video. It's not in the way. So if that server ever were to get unplugged or something, the video walls keep running. They're already tuned in. So it's like I mentioned, really resilient.
Yeah, and this graphic is really great, especially the upper right for showing the advantages of the decode and display side of things. Because we can see there's 6 appliances. They can all do quad 1080p. So for this 24 display wall, this diagram, we just know we need 6 of those appliances. If you wanted to add 4 more in the future, you just add another appliance.
Yeah.
If light blue has an issue, like let's say there's a lightning strike, let's say you need to bring it down for some reason, you're only going to lose those 4 displays. The other 20 displays are going to keep on functioning just like nothing is going on with that appliance. If you have a cold spare on site, you can be back up and running in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
With the full configuration, you just get the same IP address and you're back up and running. So again, very, very easy to troubleshoot. You don't have to have an entire chassis go down because one input of one card is having a problem. Now you have to bring your whole video wall down to ship it off to be repaired.
Yeah.
No, you just take that appliance down, put the replacement in. Now you can work on the one that's having a hard time.
And it can flex and scale over time too. We have a customer in transportation that has a 7x2 LCD wall, right? Like a normal sized operations video wall. And they wanted 7 decoders, each driving 2 displays on this wall, and then another 7 on input 2. So if something were to happen with the primary network switch or one of those nodes, they can flip to input 2 and keep running while they service the one on input 1. Then when the integrator was there to deploy it, they said, scratch that. We have 14 of these, the 7 primary and 7 redundant. Let's drive all 14 displays. We can double the decoding power, and we can live with 1 out of 14 failing and still keep operating for the price of double the decoding power. So there's a lot of flexibility. We can really fine tune for exactly what people want to do.
Yeah, the phrase I like to say is high stakes Legos.
Yeah. So in addition to just decoding video, these nodes can also control what's on the wall. Paul, our founder, had the insight years ago to say control what you see, and at the time it was simply controlling what people were looking at, but now we can actually control it as well, which is neat. IP KVM has gotten to a place where not only can we be visualizing dozens of streams, but if you plug in a mouse and keyboard to these decoder nodes, driving a display or a desktop station, wherever the mouse goes, USB control goes with it. So this has brought a lot of value in that not only do we have the group situational awareness wall, the big surface where we can see things, operator stations are now personal video walls, so to speak. So they not only are looking at their, one or two computers that would have lived beneath the desk before, but they can be looking at the security cameras they need to control, or at, SCADA information or whatever else that's local to their operations that would have taken up space on the wall just for them, but can be localized now. So it's increasing the usefulness and also decreasing the clutter. It's not uncommon to see multiple keyboards and mice and things, and that's all.
911 dispatcher usually has 3, 4, 5 systems at their feet with 3, 4, 5 different keyboard and mice sets. They could consolidate all that down to one, and if they need that ultra high speed, that ultra performance type KVM, we now have that with our G&D partnership. With our sister company, we now have a lot of interoperability on that front as well.
So that's all the slides I'm going to drag everyone through. We want to give you a quick live look of what this looks like. We have an excellent ability to show our demo center based out of Montreal, but I encourage you after this to come by our booth in 743 as well to get hands-on with the KVM to see it in operation.
Yep, and definitely the performance is going to be a little bit better in the booth. We are using Wi-Fi, RDP, and VPN. This is a live environment in Montreal that we're looking at right now. So just a very, very quick overview of what you're looking at. Basically, in the upper left, we have a 3x2, just kind of standard 55-inch displays, then a 2x2, a 3x1 operator desk, and an LED wall at the bottom. So you can see changes happening to all of those different environments. Here in our software, the software itself, you can see it's just a web page. It's an IP address. So that's really important because some of the things you're going to see me do here is really what the administrators could expect to see if they're in Orlando and they have to VPN and see what their team's doing back at the Ops Center. Maybe they're at Infocom. You'll be able to just pull out your laptop, VPN back to that network, and interact with your operations center even though you're on the road. So once it's in our ecosystem, it's basically just a drag and drop source. It's a lot like building a PowerPoint. At this point, it doesn't matter if it's an IP camera we're getting from Genetec. It doesn't matter if it's a local workstation that we've captured with a little encoder. It could be web or IP content we're hosting on our application server. It doesn't matter. At this point, it's just an IP stream, drag and drop. It's part of our system. So I'm going to grab one of these sources. We'll go to the 3x2. And you can see that one source takes over that entire wall. Since that's a 3x2, I know that there are 2 of our decoders powering that wall. I don't think at any point during this demo you're going to be able to tell which of those displays are being powered by which appliance. And that would be true if you had 40 displays and you had 10 of our appliances stitched together to be one interface. You could take one piece of content and stretch it across, or what's more common is going to be a series that we've saved as a layout. So now you can see I just instantly put on about 20 different sources, already scaled, already kind of arranged how I want them to be arranged. Very easy for my team to go in and do the work they need to do. I'm going to double click on that wall, and you can see it's starting to take some live previews. So again, a remote operator can even see exactly what their team is looking at as a preview. I'm going to blank this all out. You can see I'm just working with a little 6x4 grid. Completely arbitrary. It's there to help me as a designer lay out content. So now I can just grab sources. You'll be able to see just how quickly we can throw a video wall together. All right, so let's say that's all the content we want to see. Again, we can move things around very easily, grab a corner and resize. All of the scaling is taking place locally in our decoder, in our hardware. So we're getting the true source video. And we can manipulate this, even if it's ratios you would never do in the real world, because it makes it where you can then go in and customize these environments to show exactly what you want to show. So very quickly, we can go in here and build out something nice that we can share out with our team. We can even do little things like adding a border, adding the custom name. We can crop, so if you wanted to show only North America. And you can see my upper left source on that 3x2 just zoomed in to that part of the source. So now if I save this layout, that source is always going to appear that way. Even though I am still getting the full source, the full video, the full stream, if I were to use that in a different location, it's going to be the full resolution again. It's going to be zoomed back out. So it just makes it where you can very easily go in and even kind of pick which portions of your sources you want to show for any given layout. Once I save this, it's now going to be available to share with my entire team. There's demo. I can now drag this to any of my locations. And the local hardware is going to scale it to fit that space. So if you had, again, different buildings, different facilities, different floors, conference room, whatever it is, you'll be able to share sources, share layouts, share presets, share all that information. Very, very easy to collaborate.
Yeah, and we aim to be really good at this one thing, right? This is our little nutshell, but in addition to video over IP, there's a lot of communication over IP as well. We work with a lot of companies that can automate alerts, right? If someone, if a camera detects motion, it can automatically bring that camera up and put a red border around it. Or if there's an audio tone that a DSP senses, it can turn on audio in the system and route audio to the video wall or things like that. So our one piece is something that can be part of a much larger controlled ecosystem. As great as our software is, our goal is for people to touch it as little as possible, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And the other goal is that it's end-user friendly. I will freely say our software is designed to be installed by integration partners, security and AV both, but day-to-day operation is designed for the end user. Our team commissions every system that we're part of, and as part of that, we even train end users how to create new layouts, how to create new panels, do all of that themselves. And one of the things I've just done is actually what Nick had mentioned a moment ago. I've gone into Genetec, one of our great partners, set off an alarm on purpose, and that set off a triggered workflow that put that camera up on our primary wall. So let's just say that was Nick. He was going into an area with a dry contact alarm. He's allowed to be there. I acknowledge that alarm. You can see it's just going to collapse on the main wall, and it goes back to its normal operations. So that triggered workflow could be set up to do any number of different functions. It could, for example, send a nice little blur command to the wall. This is definitely something I learned once I came on board at VuWall, but these operation centers give a lot of tours to a lot of people that should not be viewing the content that goes up on the wall. Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to deal with that. Some people just make it where you can blank out the wall. Some people make it where you can just throw up a logo. We found that blurring the content really makes it where you can still get the feel of what the team is looking at. You can get a feel for the value, but obviously distort all of that critical information. And then let's say that person leaves, you can very quickly just bring it back into focus. Okay, I'm going to switch back over. We take a look at a couple of other features. Even though this is all incredibly easy, we honestly consider everything we've shown you so far to be more of our administrative or supervisor type of an interface. This is our day-to-day interface. So whether or not you want this to go to a physical touch panel, like you can actually see at the showroom op desk, it's sitting there on the desk. We have the panels in our booth as well. That's great if an operator needs to go up, just tap the screen, and the function they need to happen just happens. They don't have to worry about it. You don't have to train, again, a 911 operator to be an IT or an AV expert. You just say, tap this button, this thing happens. And they can count on it, and it actually does what you tell them it's going to do. So one of the biggest things about this is, again, this is end-user customizable. We would create the first panels when we come on site, and then we would teach that customer, that end user, how to modify what we created and how to make brand new panels. No programming involved. Series of drop-down menus. We already know your layouts. We know your presets. We know your video walls. We know your sources. We have all that information already. So there's no need to sit down and program. You can literally just go in here and again, click of a button. We can change all these different layouts. And whether or not I use that with the physical touch panel, or I just give all my users their own individual panel and they open that up in a web browser.
Yeah.
Yep. So do 20, 30 different panels. Each user could have their own, can customize them on the fly. So again, very, very, very end-user friendly. We're kind of coming up on the end of our time. Obviously, we want to encourage you guys to stop by 743 for a much more in-depth demo. We have pretty much everything set up to show the best of what we can we can do, especially with our partners at G&D. We have a great new interactive demo between the two. And yeah, hope y'all can come out. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.